Vanakkam, hello, welcome to the next video of Heritage of Tamil's lecture series. Now we are in the 10th topic, forms of minor poetry. Minor poetry in Tamil is typically called as Sitrilakkiyam. Personally, I consider that word is not apt. Generally, these are called Prabandham. Prabandham means well knit or well composed, Bandham, so tight, bound. So well knit Prabandham. But it's a Sanskrit word. So people try to translate that word into Tamil, and so they came up with Sitrilakkiyam. But this tag of Sitrilakkiyam is a bit confusing because we add the Sitrilakkiyam literally means small literature or minor poetry, but nothing minor about them. So what is minor about them? There is nothing minor about them. In fact, if you ask people, if these are Sitrilakkiyam, what are the Perilakkiyams? So if you say there are a minor poetry, then there should be major poetry. So if you ask them what are the major poetry, then typically people will say epics are the major poetry. But if you look at any list that gives you the types of minor poetry, the Sitrilakkiyam list, that list will invariably contain epics also. So Perungappiyam is also listed under minor poetries. And what is great epic? So I think this is only should be taken as a technical term, Sitrilakkiyam. That's all. So it refers to a certain type of poetry. This is a very vast topic actually, minor poetry, and this also sort of not very defined, or maybe in olden days it was defined because traditionally we have a count of 96. So we say 96 வகை சிற்றிலக்கியங்கள். But now, some of the modern research from Annamalai University and Madras University, so some of the modern theses I've read, people they are enumerating more than 300 types of minor poetry, and this could be growing. Any poet, you cannot restrict a poet to be singing in only one of these forms. Any poet can come up with this new, with his or her new format, and they can sing, and definitely we should accept that. So minor poetry is a huge topic here, but one thing we can say that minor poetry, the songs, the framework of the songs, they tend to focus on a particular theme or a scenario. So there is one focus here. So what is being focused, that we can see, and we see the examples of the minor poetry, then we'll understand that. So they're all focusing on one particular theme or a scenario or a framework, and this is typically a medium used by poets to highlight a particular pattern. The pattern can be a king or a chieftain or a philanthropist, vallal we call them, or a guru, a jnana guru, or even God, right? Or the poet have a favorite thing like Tamil. So there are Tamil vidu Thudu. You want to praise the merits of Tamil, they can use one of these forms. Or the poet is very fond of cigar, Pugailai. So there is a Pugailai vidu Thudu. So you can do like that. Poets will do that. So there is no restriction for poets, absolutely. So this is a very good medium for that. So people take a particular framework, a particular format, and then prize and highlight the merits of their patron or their favorite thing in that format. So you'll see some examples, then you understand this point. And this is typically a good literature, a major literature. A Perilakkiyam should be giving you the fruits. So there are four fruits, right? நான்கு பயன்கள், நாற்பயன், we say that. அறம், பொருள், இன்பம், வீடு. Virtues, material benefit, joy, and then liberation. So a good book, if you read that, finally should lead you to liberation of your soul. Minor poetry, they focus on any one or two of them. So typically people say that, but again, as I said, that is not the case. Minor poetries are very good, they are very beautiful, they are very meritorious on their own regard. So the word Sitrilakkiyam is slightly misleading, so we should consider that only as a technical term for Sitrilakkiyam. And maybe Sitrilakkiyam, the minor poetry, in the history of Tamil literature, in the history of Tamil culture, minor poetry can be seen in many places, starting from Sangam literature itself, because Atrupadai, as I mentioned, Atrupadai is seen in Sangam literature itself. Thudu, sending someone as a messenger, that is seen in Sangam literature itself, and it is being seen throughout the period, Sangam literature or post Sangam literature, Bhakti literature, all the epics. So all these aspects are seen throughout the literary history of Tamil and the cultural history of Tamil country. But if you want to pinpoint certain era as the era for minor literature, Sitralakyam or Prabandham, then we can put the later times, especially the somewhere around the 12th to 17th century period, the Nayakar period, as the era for minor poetry. So there people, they wrote a lot of minor poetries compared to the other era. Here people wrote a lot of minor poetries, and they experimented with different forms, different ideas, different formats and all. So this is the period typically for minor poetry, but minor poetry itself is not restricted only to this period. It is coming from all the periods. It's spread across all the periods, the literary history as well as cultural history of the Tamil language and Tamil region. We should keep that in mind. So traditionally, as I mentioned, traditionally the count is 96. So this traditional count is first encountered in the Chatur Agharadi written by Virama Munivar, who is a French scholar, Constanto Beschi. So he's called Virama Munivar in Tamil. So he written this Chatur Agaradi, and in this Chatur Agaradi, he has a Togai Iyal. where he enumerates the list. So anything you say as four, as a compilation. So you say Nal Tisai, four directions. So you mention four directions. What are the four directions? Like that. There he says Sitrilakkiyam, and he enumerates this 96 types of Sitrilakkiyam there. I'll give the exact list in the next slides. Now the Sitrilakkiyams, they are classified, or they follow a nomenclature. Right? So the themes, so they are based on, some of them are based on a certain theme, like Aatrupadai, Toodu, sending a messenger, or Ula, where we show the pattern going for a tour across the city, Pillai Tamil, etc. Or they are named after their structure. So Kovai, a collection of songs in a particular theme. Kalambagam, collection of a variety of songs. Malai, so they are all connected by a word. Malai or Andadi, connection again by word. So based on their structure, or based on their verse forms, what verse is used. So some of them are composed entirely in Venpa, some of them are composed entirely as Asiriyappa or Virutham songs. So based on that, their names are given for them. And some of them often are also classified based on their verse count. So Pattu or Padigam, which is having 10 songs. Narpadu, 40 songs, like if you remember in the post Sangam literature, Padinen Kirkanathu Nulgal, we saw Inna Narpadu, Ineve Narpadu, Kar Narpadu, Kalavadi Narpadu, like that. Aimbadu, Aindine Aimbadu, like that. And we have Nuru or Sadagam. In Tiruvasagam, you can find this Sadagam. So like that, Nanuru, Agananuru, Purananuru, or Ayiram, collection of 1,000 songs like in Tirumurai, Mudal Ayiram, Irandam Ayiram. So if you look in this aspect, named for a particular theme or a particular structure or a particular verse form or verse count, then every literature will come under minor literature, because Sangam literature, Agananuru, Purananuru, Kalitogai, they're all collections. So they will come under minor literature. Or post Sangam literature, they're all particular thematic based ones, right? Kar Narpadu, Kalavadi Narpadu. So they will come under this case. Or Bhakti literature, the Padigams, all the Pasurams, Tirumuri, they will come under this case. And a particular literature can be falling under many categories also. So there might be Andadi. That Andadi might be composed of 100 songs. So we can call them as Sadagam or Andadi or Nutrandadi. We have this Ramanujar Nutrandadi. So the count of 100 as well as the structure of Andadi is there. Also, all the Andadi is made of Venpa songs or Kattalai Kaliturai songs, or they are made of Virutham songs. So this is not a hard and fast classification. We should know that. So people typically name one of the prominent aspect or whatever stands out. So that is how things are here. Let me give you the list of all the 96 Sitrilakkiyam, the traditional list coming from the Chaturagaradi of Veerama Munivar. But remember, there are more than this. There are more than 300 types of Sitrilakkiyam in Tamil. So I'll just quickly read through this list. Sorry, we have Sadagam, which is basically a horoscope, writing the horoscope of a person. Sadagam, Pillai Kavi, Barani, Kalambagam, Agapurul Kovai, Aindinai Cheyul, Varuga Kovai, Mummani Kovai, Anga Malai, Atta Mangalam, Anuraha Malai, Iratai Mani Malai, Inaimani Malai, Navamani Malai, Nanmani Malai, Nama Malai, Palanjada Malai, Panmani Malai, Mani Malai. All these Malai or garland. Malai means garland. So the songs are considered like gems or flowers, which are all tied together like a malai. Panmani Malai, Mani Malai, Pugarchi Malai, Perumagirchi Malai, Varuga Malai, Mekirti Malai, Kapu Malai, Venil Malai, Taragai Malai, Udbava Malai, Tanai Malai, Mummani Malai, Tandaga Malai, Veera Vechi Malai, Vetri Karandai Manjari, Porkelu Vanji, Varalatru Vanji, Sirukala Vanji, Kanji Malai, Nochi Malai, Ulinyai Malai, Tumbai Malai, Vagai Malai, Vadodharana Manjari, En Cheyul, Togai Nilai Cheyul, Oliyal Andadi, Paditru Andadi, Nutru Andadi, Ula Madal. And if you notice, I have highlighted some of them in bold and a different color, and only some different color, because these are some of the prominent and very frequently available Sitrilakkiyam. Valamadal, Uruba, Urubakku, Aatrupadai, which is coming from Sangam literature itself. Tuil Edai Nilai, பெயர் இன்னிசை ஊர் இன்னிசை பெயர் நேரிசை ஊர் நேரிசை ஊர் வெண்பா விளக்கு நிலை புறநிலை கடைநிலை கையறு நிலை தசாங்க பத்து தசாங்க தயல் அரசன் விருத்தம் நயனப்பத்து வயோதர பத்து Padadi Kesam, Kesadi Padam. These are descriptions of a person, like they describe. Padadi Kesam means starting from the feet and describing up to the head. Kesadi Padam means starting from the head and describing up to the feet. So that is there, and there are a lot of traditions associated with them. For example, typically for human beings, Padadi Kesam should be used. For God, Kesadi Padam should be used. Like that, there are descriptions, there are definitions there. Alangara Panchagam, Kaikilai, Mangala Vallai, Tudu, Narpadu, like Ula, Kar Narpadu, Kadavari Narpadu, Karumagan, தாண்டகம் பதிகம் சதகம் செவி அறிவுரு வாயுரை வாழ்த்து புறநிலை வாழ்த்து பவனி காத்தல் குளத்தி பத்து உழத்தி இஸ் a farmer lady உழத்தி பத்து ஊசல் எழுகூற்று இருக்கை கடிகை வெண்பா சின்னப்பூ விருத்த இலக்கணம் முத்து காஞ்சி இயன்மொழி வாழ்த்து பெருமங்கலம் பெருங்காப்பியம். As I said, so we are listing minor literature. So what is greater literature? Someone will say Perukappiyam or epics, but epics are also listed under minor literature. So what is happening here, right? So Perungappiyam, Sirukappiyam, Pirappu, Iruba, Irubadu, Kanpadai Nilai, So these are the 96 literatures, traditional count, but we can find a lot more than that. So there are so many other forms invented by poets and sung some pattern over that song. So now we'll talk about some of the famous Sitrilakkiyam types like Pillai Tamil, Bharani, Kalambagam, Mula, Thudu, Kuravanji, like that. We'll talk about what is what, just to give an idea. So what you mean by minor literature and what they encompass and all that. So let me quickly discuss in detail about some of the famous types of them. One of them is the foremost one is called Pillai Tamil. This Pillai Tamil, the pattern, whoever may be a king or a chieftain or a guru or even a god, that pattern will be considered as a child, a newborn child, and the poet will sing 10 sections of the life of the growth of the child. So that is what is happening here. So the pattern is considered as the child and singing about the various stages. They are called the Parvam. So there are 10 Parvam typically in a Pillai Tamil text. So each Parvam will get 10 verses, all set in a similar meter. So there are totally 100 verses. Typically, people use what we call Asiriya Virutham. So long forms of verses called Asiriya Virutham are used typically here. And there are traditions to differentiate the male and female patterns. So if the patron, the protagonist of a Pillai Tamil is a male, then the last three Parvam will be different. And for a female, they'll be different. So I've shown them both. So the first seven is common for all of them. So the first seven, whether it's a male child or a female child, it's common. So Kapu is praying to different gods to safeguard the child. Sengirai is a particular action of a child. So the child will be crawling at that age. So will be putting one of the hands and the knees on the ground, and they'll be shaking front and back. That is called a Sengirai Parvam. Tal is Naku. So Talatu Padudal, singing lullabies to the song and asking the child to move his tongue. So the mother will be talking to the child, like that. The mother will talk, and she will expect the child to reciprocate. And the child, this is where they start exercising their mouth and start to learn to speak. So that's called tal. Chapani is clapping the hands. That's called chapani. So small child will sit down. The child starts to sit down, and then it starts to clap their hands. That's called a chapani kotudal. Muttam. So the mother. The poet considers himself as the mother of the child. Poet, right? So that is how the songs are set. So the mother will be asking the child to give her a kiss. That's called a Muttam Parvam and a Varugai Parvam. So the mother is now encouraging the child to walk or move, crawl faster or walk. So the mother will typically stand slightly away from the child and she will encourage the child to come to her. So that's calling the child, wa 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 wa, she will call. So that's called Varigai Parvam. And Ambuli Parvam, the mother is now giving solid food to the child. So she'll be typically showing the moon. Ambuli is moon. So they'll be feeding the child by showing the moon, right? So showing different objects. This is where the child starts to learn the world around the child. See, these are all very important, right? So it's actually happening even today. Even today, mothers do this. Maybe they are not singing songs like this or using these songs. Mothers who have learned Tamil literature, mothers or fathers who have learned Tamil literature will use these songs, or they will be singing something they know. There are traditional songs, folklore songs are there also for all these stages. And then there is a male child. By the time the child would have become a toddler, so a male child would be playing with the different things. So we have Sitril, building small fortress like a Lego thing, but in sand or in wood, people will do that. So Sitril is small houses being built. Siru Parai, so the child is given a small drum. Drum plays a very important role in the ancient Tamil people's life. So there are drums which identified different regions of people, different clans of people and all. So that is very important. So the child is given a small parai drum and encouraged to learn music. And then Siru Ter, so the child is given a small chariot and a toy chariot, and he will be pulling the toy chariot on the street and playing with his friends. So that is the last three for the male child. And for a female child, she will be playing with Ammanai. Ammanai is a game girls play. And Karangu or Neeradal. Karangu is another game where they use coins or shells to play a game. And the Neeradal, the ladies will go to take a bath in a common tank or a river or something like that. If you look at Pavai songs by Andal is calling all the friends to come to this early morning ritualistic bathing. So that is Neeradal. And finally, Woosal. So girls will be playing swings in a garden or something like that. So again, all these are done with their own friends, people of their own age. So the first seven is common for both male and female children, and which is typically in the care of the mother. And now the people are toddlers, and now they go and play with their friends. So the last three are accordingly set, and some of there are slight variations for them also. So this is how Pillai Tamil is set, and Pillai Tamil is very beautiful literature. So you can definitely read that. And there are famous Pillai Tamil like Madurai Meenakshi Amman Pillai Tamil, where Madurai Meenakshi Amman, the deity herself, is considered as a small baby, and the poet sings like that. Muthukumaraswamy Pillai Tamil. Muthukumaraswamy is the god Murugan. And Chekadar Pillai Tamil, Chekadar, the author of the Periya Puranam. So Chekadar Pillai Tamil is there. Kulothunga Cholan Pillai Tamil is there, sung by Vattakuthar. So the king Kulothunga Chola himself is considered as a small child, and Pillai Tamil is sung on him by the poet. So that is Pillai Tamil. And then we have Bharani. Bharani is a literature which is based on war. So typically it's a war literature. It's a record of war actually. So the Bharani literature prizes the victor of the war. Typically that should be a very remarkable victory. Typically the literature, the grammar says Bharani should be sung on a warrior who have slain at least 1,000 elephants in a war. I mean, when we say 1,000 elephants, it means the equivalent, the corresponding army, right? So an army with 1,000 elephants will have so many thousands of horses and chariots and foot soldiers. So a warrior who is capable of being victorious over such an army, then he deserves to be sung a Bharani song, right? So this is a prizing of a war victory of a king or a chieftain or a commander or a deity or even a jnana guru. When it comes to guru or a deity, that will be in a more metaphorical sense. So the guru wages a war against illiterateness, right? So not knowing Ajnanam. So Ajnanam is the enemy there, and the Guru wages a war against it and becomes victorious. So Bharani can be set in that theme also. These are all later day improvisations. So it may not be an actual war, it may be a metaphorical war, a philosophical war like that. And these contains a very extensive descriptions of the battle, the battlefield, and the rites before and after the battle. So I'm giving you here the typical sections of a Bharani literature. Kadavul Vazhthu, so starting with invocation. Kadai Thirappu. Kadai Thirappu is the opening of the door. So the warriors who went to battle, they come late to home. After celebrations, everything, they come late. So their consorts, wives, they are angry and they are feeling anger and they close the doors. So now they are requesting them to open the door. That's called Kadai Thirappu. Kaadu Padiyadu. So singing the battlefield. Koil Padiyadu. So singing the temple of Durga, Kali Devi, Kotravai, who is the goddess of war. And Deviyai பாடியது, so singing about the Kotravai herself. பேய் பாடியது, so பேய் are all the attendants of this Durga Devi, so singing about those பேய். And Indrajalam, so the pays, they will show magical things, so magical demonstration, that's called Indrajalam. Raja Parambaryam, here the patron's lineage will be mentioned. So whoever is the patron, so this is the opportunity for the poet to praise the lineage, all the ancestors of the patron, and tell to the world that he is from coming from a very great lineage. And Pei Muraipadu, so here all the pays, all the ghosts, they go to the Kali and they will request that we don't have enough food because they only eat the dead bodies. So dead bodies will be plenty when there is a war. But now, because of the king's very beautiful rule, so very peaceful rule, very able administration, there is no war. So now they are requesting Kali to create a war so that they can have a feast. That is Pei Muraipadu. And Avataram, so the Kali comes, right? That is Avataram. And the Kali ki Kuli Kuriyadu. So the coolie is one of the pay that will go and tell there's going to be a battle happening. So don't worry, we all get feasted. So there'll be a battle happening. That's what is Kali. It's like a report, like a reconnaissance and a report. Poor Padiyadu. And then the battle, the actual battle happens. So the poet describes the battle there. And the Kalam Padiyadu. So after the battle, the aftermath of the battle. So all the dead people and how people are suffering about the battle. So that all is captured here. And finally, Kool Adudal, which is a ritualistic practice. All the pay, all this ghost, they will be taking all the dead body from the battle and they will be cooking in the battleground itself. So that is what is rendered here. Kool Adudal. Of course, it's a gore depiction. It's a very graphic depiction there. But of course, that is a tradition. That's people sung that. So there are famous Bharanis. Kalingattu Bharani is the most famous Bharani. Is about an actual war from a Chola king. The commander-in-chief Karunagara Tondaiman of the Chola king Kulothunga, he went to the Kalinga region, the present-day Odisha and those parts to northwest India. So he went there and he returned victorious. So this war was captured by Jayam Kondar, the poet Jayam Kondar, and this text called Kalingattu Bharani. Very beautiful text, especially the four Padiyadu. The description of the battle is very vivid there. And we have Takkayaga Bharani, where the Bhairavar, the aspect of Shiva, destroys the Yagam by Dakshan. So Dakkayaga Bharani. Hiranyavadai Bharani, where Nrsimha Avadara kills the Hiranyaksha. So that's Hiranyavadai Bharani. And Pasavadai Bharani, this is a philosophical work. As I said, it's a more a metaphorical work. So how a Jnana Guru is able to cut all the bondages of the student and liberates the students. So that is the war against illiterateness. So that is Pasavadai Bharani. So there are so many like Bharanis are available in Tamil, Bharani literature. And we have Kalambagam. Kalambagam is a collection, it's a varied songs, both in their structure and in their theme, in their content. These are all varied songs. So the collection of such varied song is called Kalambagam. A Kalambagam, the word is interpreted to be meaning 18, Kalambagam. So it's 12 plus 6, 18. So the word is interpreted to mean 18. And the people say that the Kalambagam should have 18, particularly 18 parts, 18 types of songs in that. And more than that actually there. And typically Kalambagam songs vary from about 70 to 100 songs depending on the pattern. And once again, this is a very nice framework to praise the patron, their land, etc. Right? So it's a collection of variety of verses sung about the patron, and they are put as andadi. Andadi is, so you have one song, take the ending of that song, a word or a syllable from that song, and then put it as a starting of the next song, so that all the songs are connected in a series. Right? So it's called andadi. So typical elements of a kalambagam: oru bohu, which is a long song in kalipa meter; a venpa, puya vagupu, where the arms of the patron are praised. So all the deeds the arms achieve. So puya vagupu; madangam, ammanai. Ammanai is a game played by women. Kalam, Sampiramam, Kar is singing about the rainy season. So if you remember, you go back to the post-Sangam literature, we have Kar Narpadu. So same thing, Mullai Tinai. Tavam, Kuram is singing about a Kurati. Maram is Veeram. Pan, it's sending a musician as a messenger. Pan, Kali, Sittu, Irangal, Kaikilai, Tudu, sending a messenger. Vandu, Talai, Usal, Madakku, Marutpa, Asiriyappa. So there are all type of verses used there. Kalipa, Vanjipa, Asiriya Viruttam, Kali Viruttam, Kali Talisai, Vanji Viruttam, Vanjiturai, Vendurai. So you can see Kalambagam is a very varied collection of songs, will be very enjoyable to read actually, because every next song will be something different and set in a different meter or different theme. So it will be very, very interesting to read a Kalambagam. And there are a lot of Kalambagams. One of the famous and one of the oldest Kalambagam is Nandi Kalambagam, sung on the Nandi Varma Pallavan from the 9th century. And then we have Madurai Kalambagam or Kasi, and then Kasi Kalambagam, Thillai Kalambagam, Thiruvaranga Kalambagam. You can see all these later day Kalambagams, they are all named after a particular place, because they are all singing about that particular place, pilgrimage place, and the temple and the deity in those places. So Madurai Kalambagam is talking about the deity of Madurai, who is Chokkanadar, like that. And then Ula. Ula is another very prominent Sitrilakkiyam. Ula means touring, so going for a tour, going for a walk or a ritualistic walk around the city. So this describes the ritual tour of the patron around his city, and this ritualistic tour is being witnessed by various people and all the entourage of the patron himself. And especially these songs will contain depictions of women from 7 different age groups. So the patron is going for a tour across his country on a mount or a chariot or a horse, like that. And the women from 7 different age groups will be seeing him and they'll be falling in love with him. But each are from different age group, so their response, their definition of love will be different. So what they expect from the patron, how they fall in love, that is different, and that is captured by the poet in the Ula. So first part, the poet will capture all the information about the patron, his lineage, so the genealogy and the merits of the patron, and the patron getting ready for the tour, so the ritual bathing and putting all the decorations, all the ornaments, and then the patron mounting the royal elephant or a horse or a chariot to go for the Ula. And the starting of the tour, and the patron will be, the king will be flanked by his entourage. So people with the various ranks, as ministers, cabinets, commanders, bodyguards, flag bearers, attendants, everyone, right? So they'll be all coming around the king. So if a king goes for a walk, at least 1,000 people will go with them. So all this description is given in the first part, which is a very nice tool for the poet to praise the king. So if a poet wants to get the attention of a king, wants to get some benefit from the king, this is a nice tool, because here he is able to praise all the aspects of the king. The second part of the song, the poet will express his own poetic powers by describing the women of 7 age groups and how they fall in love with the patron who's coming for the tour. So the 7 age group of women are Pedai, Pedumbai, Mangai, Madandai, Arivai, Terivai, and Perilampen. Similarly, we have 7 age groups for boys also, but no one has sung Ula for a boy. That is not a traditional thing. Maybe in a modern time, someone can do that. So a lady patron is coming and all these boys are falling in love with it. Maybe someone can try that. No one is going to stop them. Anyway, so that is the Ula thing, which is again a very beautiful song. Now this Ula typically set as a single song in Kali Venpa meter. It's a long Kali Venpa meter, it's a single song. So unlike the previous ones like Bharani or Pillai Tamil or Kalambagam, where we have a collection of songs, Ula is typically a single song set in Kali Venpa meter. So it's typically a long song with about typically some 400 to 800 lines long. So as I mentioned already in Bhakti literature, the Adi Ula, Thirukailaya Jnana Ula by Cheraman Perumal Nayanar is also called as Kadarettu Arivar. That is the Adi Ula, this is sung on Shiva himself. So Lord Shiva going for a tour, Ula in Kailayam itself. That's why it's called as Thirukailaya Jnana Ula. And then we have Moovar Ula. Moovar Ula is three different Ula sung by one single poet, Vattakuthar. So Vattakuthar has the fortune of living for a long age and serving as well a court poet as well as the teacher of 3 generations of Chola kings, starting with Vikrama Cholan about in the beginning of 12th century, and his son second Kulothunga Cholan, and his son second Rajaraja Cholan. So for all three of them, Vattakuthar was the court poet, and he has sung this Ula on all three of them. So 3 Ulas on Vikrama Chola, Kulothunga Chola and Rajaraja Chola, second Rajaraja Chola. So he has sung on all of them. That is typically collectively called as Mover Ula. So the Ula on three kings, that's called Mover Ula. So and there are so many other Ula literature available in Tamil. And then we have Tudu. Tudu is sending a messenger, especially for love, right? So sending a messenger of love. So that is called the Tudu Ilakkiyam. In Sanskrit also, this Tudu is very famous because there is this Kalidasar's Megha Tudam, a very famous text available in Sanskrit, and so many other texts following that pattern of Kalidasa is available. In Tamil, we have this Tudu. Once again, this Tudu is a scene from Sangam literature itself, and it's also seen in Bhakti literature in many other forms. We have seen Tudu, but the minor literature Tudu, the Tudu in minor literature or Tudu as a minor literature has its own structure, right? So once again, this Tudu is sung as a very long Kali Venpa song, a single song, a Kali Venpa song in a long structure about some 400 to 700 lines long. So this is sending a messenger to a patron. And here, this Tudu offers the advantage of able to price two things at once. So if you have a Ula or a Kalambagam, Pillai Tamil, so you are pricing the patron. So you are choosing only the patron and pricing them. So the patron could be a king or your guru or something like that. In Tudu, you have a patron and you are a messenger. You have a messenger. So you can price both the patron as well as the messenger. So if you are sending a parrot to your king, so you have the opportunity to enumerate the merits of the king as well as enumerate the merits of the parrot. So in the Tudu will comprise why this particular parrot is a good messenger, why he is suitable to get this message like that. So Tudu is a very good tool to price both the patron as well as the messenger, and the messenger could be an inanimate object also. So we see in all the literature, people have sent a poet have sung that people are sending all these objects as a messenger. So there are practical messengers like parrots or doves or crows or vultures like that. But there are imaginary messengers also. So Todi, friend is there, Pangan, a male friend, and Virali, a dancer. So they're all traditional messengers. Even in Sangam literature, you can see that these people are being actually sent as messengers. It's not an imaginary thing, actually sent them. But then some animals or birds can be sent like parrot, peacock, crane, swan, bee, deer. Some people send cloud like Kalidasa's Megha Dudam. So cloud itself is sent as a messenger. And typically inanimate objects can also be sent as messengers, at least in a song, not in practicality. So Tamil, there is a Tamil Vidu Tudu. So Tamil itself is sent as a messenger to Madurai Alavai Chokkar, and money. So Pana Vidutudu is there, glass, Kannadi Vidutudu is there, Pugai Vidutudu, Pugailai Vidutudu, cigar is there. So whatever the poet wants to price, then we can come up with a framework like this and enumerate the merits of that thing. So the typical sections of a Tudu will be pricing the messenger. So the first part starting with pricing the messenger. So if you want the person to go as a messenger for you, definitely you have to price the person. So you should enumerate all the merits and you should say why they are the most suitable person to go as a messenger like that. And then pricing the patron. So the patron to whom we are sending the message, so that patron should be priced and their merits should be enumerated, and then the route is described. Again, another opportunity to describe the scenic beauty of the city of the patron. So the route is described and describes the various seasons and scenes. Here the poet can show his or her prowess, literary prowess. So they are able to describe all the seasons, all the different scenes that will happen, the messenger will encounter. And then the message itself. The message is very simple. Typically, it's always I've fallen in love with that patron, so I am very longing to see the patron. So please ask him to come and meet me as early as possible. At least send me some mark of love. Like in Ramayana, when Hanuman is sent as a messenger, Rama gives his ring to Hanuman, and when he's coming back from Sita, she gives his head ornament, right? So that is there in Ramayana. Like that, when the messenger goes, they will get a mark, right? So they will get an identification mark from the messenger who is sending the message, and when they're returning, they should get another identification mark from the patron. So as a evidence for having met them and taking their message. So that is there. So that will all be the message of the Tudu, and then it will typically end with the instruction. The last line will be Tar Vangiva. So at least bring their garland. So at least as a remark of the love and as a representative. So even if the patron himself cannot quickly come and meet me, at least bring the garland of the patron so that I'll be at least satisfied with that for the time being. So that is the last line. Typically, the last line of a Tudu song will be Tar Vangiva. So bring us garland. That will be there. So that is the Tudu literature. Another very beautiful form of literature in Tamil, and we have very interesting Tudu literature. So many of them are available. So there are for each of these at least tens of hundreds of them are available. So I'm just mentioning the most prominent one, the most famous one among them. So Alagar Killai Vidu Tudu is there. Tamil Vidu Tudu, where it prices Tamil, all the aspects of Tamil. Such a very famous song. And in Nenji Vidu Tudu, the mind itself is sent as a messenger. So these are all the Tudu works available in Tamil. And here, as I said, there are 300 plus. So I won't be sitting and explaining all of them. If you are interested, you can read about them. So some of the famous, some other famous Sitrilakkiyam types, we quickly mention them. So there is Kuravanji. Kuravanji will focus on a Kurati. So there'll be a lady who falls in love with a lord, typically of a mountain. So she'll be waiting for him to come, and she will encounter a Kurati who is a soothsayer. So she will come and say, palm read this lady, and she will say, "Don't worry, your patron will come to you and marry you." That is the format. And in that, she'll be able to price all her place, all her mountains, all her patrons' mountains, and all those. That is a Kuravanji song. There is this famous Kutrala Kuravanji by Tirukuda Rasappa Kavirayar, a very famous Kuravanji song, a very beautiful composition, very musical composition. So you should, if you are able, definitely you should read at least one or two songs from that. And then we already mentioned Andadi. In Andadi, Andadi applies to many other texts. So within minor literature itself, Andadi like Kalambagam, we have Andadi structure in that. So each song will start with the last word or syllable or even sentence from the previous song. That is called Andadi. And there are texts which are simply Andadi themselves. So songs typically of the same meter set as Andadi and typically in a count of 100. So the most famous one is Abhirami Andadi, which is praising the goddess Abhirami. So 100 songs set in the Andadi format. So Abhirami Andadi. And then we have Kovai. Kovai means collection. So it's a collection of Kovai means collection like a garland. So it's a collection of songs set in the Agam theme typically, like the Manikavasakars, Tirukovayar, or there are different types of connections, and they're all typically connected to Sandadi songs. So we have Irattai Mani Malai, Mummani Kovai, Nanmani Kovai, like that. So and Malai is also similar to Kovai. So we have a lot of such songs available in Tamil. So there are thousands of literature. A single person cannot even list all of this literature. So much literature are available in Tamil, and at least you should read a part, one or two songs from at least from the prominent of these literature to have a taste about them. And definitely it will be worthwhile because they're all beautiful poetic compositions. It will be definitely worthwhile. So that is minor literature in Tamil. So we have only one more topic left, which we'll see in our next video. Thank you very much. See you all in the next video.